This is Jason Reed Pratt, author of Cry of Justice. Have you ever wanted me to stop with the flailing attempts at a tutorial and just go straight to my flailing attempts at invading Poland as the Nazis in Decisive campaigns, the Blitzkrieg from Warsaw to Paris by Matrix Slitherine games and VR systems or design or whatever? Me too! Turn 4, September 7th, 1939. Yeek! This suggests my security trains, as cute as they are, could not hold Elbing. Bad for my victory points, but no matter, I'll get it back before the end of the game. Clear weather this turn, for all the fat lot of good it will do me, but I guess every bit helps. On the balance, I'd rather have my Air Force than Poland's. I can't recall from turn to turn what my victory points were on the previous turn, but it doesn't matter. What matters is whether I capture Warsaw and enough other towns to win, which at this point seems dubious, or whether I capture all the other major cities except Warsaw, which at this point seems virtually impossible. Go Poles! My losses are staying steady at 1% per turn, but they badly need to tail off soon. I can't sustain those losses and still invade France with full numbers later. Polish losses seem pretty steady at 4.6-ish per turn, which isn't bad, but I need to escalate that somewhat. Here's the game's quick overview of Barth's Turn 3, as ancient Lithuanians cheer on their Polish brothers. I hope you will pay more attention to it than I did, because it clearly reveals the answer to some questions that I'll be wondering about later, but which I didn't notice the answers to because I wasn't paying as much attention to this replay as you might be. Paying.
Ой, матуші, матуші, кам то мані йогіней, ай-яй-я, кам то мані йогіней, кам то мані йогіней, ірен військо ужращей, ай-яй-я, ірен військо ужращей, ірен військо ужращей, іртрес труба снукалей, Truba snukale, pirma triuba triubijo, iš kiemelio išjodams. Ai, iš kiemelio išjodams. Antra triuba triubijo, per atšlaimą juodamas. Ai, per atšlaimą juodamas. Trečia triuba triubijo, prie vaiskelio.
With that done, I'll start the doom scroll from the usual place with the Slavic Nazi fanboy army in the southeast.
Kai ant plečiau sustojom, žuvidus iškapojom. Žuvidus iškapojom. Mūsų katkus labai drūts, tikras buvo karalius. Tikras buvo karalius.
And here we are, as always so far, with the corner of the battle where Barth will probably win. Near the Lithuanian border, thus explaining why I have secured permission to feature Lithuanian war songs. Sort of explaining. At this point, it looks impossible to prevent Vodrig's corps from being outright eaten by the Poles, which would be a total disaster. This is what happens when I don't invade Poland with better than 40-to-1 odds. Things are so bad here that I don't even need to consider both Vodrig and Brandt's conf groups as supporting or rescuing each other anymore. which does have the advantage of making my plans a little simpler. I can just look at each of their disasters separately now. First up, good grief, I've got to fly the 4th Flugel Corps back northwest again so they can escape the winged hussars. The good news, such as it is that the Königsberg Garrison Division is starting to arrive to blockade this area. Thank goodness I had enough sense to pull those things south pronto. If I somehow manage to save the hash of Brand's group, this will be a big reason why. That cavalry brigade wasn't able to run away last turn, so I'm going to suppose it's out of supply, and so also immobile on game terms, and redirect Brand's group back south to start picking off Barth's opportunistic sally, and later rescuing my 206th Reserve Infantry Division, I hope. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to surround this thing, cutting off its supply, so it's able to escape. I spend a few minutes thinking hard about whether to collapse the line of the 206th a little farther. In hindsight, I probably should have, but at the time, everyone was still in good shape and very well entrenched, even though not altogether in supply. So, in the end, I kept them spread out. We'll see how much of a mistake that was when turn 5 arrives. Down to Vodric's Corps. The basic problem here is that, being out of supply, they're not only starting to take some losses in manpower, but they can't move far, or in some cases at all. That means I can't retreat them to safety either. Essentially, I need to push the road line back out of Polish control and secure it with troops. So I decide that every possible movement I've got here should have one or both of those two goals in mind. Does it work? Well, kind of. A little to my surprise and relief, I am able to push open a road north to Ortelsburg and its rail line. If I'm able to save anything of Vodric's Corps, this will be why. And I honestly don't believe I'll be able to use them or Brand's group to prosecute an attack on Poland henceforth. Their goal now is to keep the Poles from overrunning East Prussia from the east, and annihilating my whole northern assault. Eventually, I noticed that 3rd Army HQ has a rally card, which I somewhat foolishly play on the 206th Reserve Infantry rather than on Vodric's whole trapped corps. But I guess I'm being opportunistic that Vodric's problems will be over next turn while Brand's group still needs to hold fast for a rescue eventually. In the center of the North Front, Air Recon shows Barthheart is still trying to sneak up some troops along the River? I swear, I think that's what it says. And more worryingly, he's got a whole corps of something slowly moving up between the rivers down there. So at this point, 11th and 61st Divisions, with the artillery from Kempf's Kampf group, need to pinch off that advance and otherwise consolidate a defensive line between the rivers to forestall further counter-advances. I'm also a little worried that Barth's infantry counter-blitzer up there has snipped my rail line for supplies out of Osterode, leaving me no clean supply line at the moment except over the river westward at Kurtz, so I detail some fast troops back up there to clear the line. This leads me to the west side of the North Front, which is now overlapping with the north side of the West Front. The first question is, what do I really need to be doing before I try to finish off Barth's corps remnants here? Along the way, I check on Gdynia, where the two garrison groups seem to be doing just fine, despite being out of supplies since at least turn 2. This suggests the port means I'm never going to weaken them for an assault, so I'll have to detail troops back up here later. Probably these troops who are mopping up the corridor stragglers. Having decided who won't be attacking the final pocketed corps remnants, it's time to hit one part with, good grief, 120 level bombers. And then start rolling them up. little surprised to discover that I can, in fact, finish them off this turn. I don't think the remnants of Barth's 27th Infantry Division up past Marienwerder will be able to come back to bite me. Certainly not with the 10th Panzer and a bunch of newbie support converging from the west. So, I start surging everyone I can southward toward Thorn. So, time to start on the Western Front specifically, and more specifically, I'm going to start with the central thrust of OKHQ, since they've got the farthest to go to catch up with the others. I had detailed a couple of brigades of the 208th Reserve Infantry to scout south of Obernicki in case Barth tried to send someone back up behind me in that direction. And OKH is air recon. What? No, that's stupid. Air recon tells me, yep, Barth's either trying that or maybe trying to retreat a force, since I wouldn't have thought a reserve would be posted forward alone like this. So I feel comfortable prosecuting him. But first I'm going to take up my newly deployed 302nd Division and dogpile that infantry regiment Barth was trying to sneak into my backfield. This was its second turn out of supply, and probably out of headquarter contact too, and so it panics and surrenders. Great, that's another problem gone. I'll be able to rail this division forward a turn or two from now. I can't do it right now because they're not on the rail line. Recon tells me Pozone, the first major city in OKH's path, has gotten a significant number of defenders, so I'll have to be careful how I set up to attack it, but more importantly I need to cut off and stomp this other cav regiment south-southeast of OKH, so Barth doesn't get it behind me. Unfortunately I can't get behind it this turn, so anything I do to weaken it they'll be able to escape from. Air Recon says the road over the river to their west is clear, and that Barth isn't trying to sneak someone westward south of the Auber River. So after I get around it, the best I can, I send, goodness, 70 stupids over to bomb it off the face of the earth? That's literally what happens. I'm not sure I've destroyed a unit like that yet outright by air. While I'm waiting to rail the 302nd East, I think I'll drive a wedge southeast to cut the road between Pozan and Koskian. Barth might be trying to run someone back west in that fog of war south of the river, and I'll want to cut that off ASAP. Back north again to the action north of Rogozno. Barth has started bringing up that 14th Division, which is a bit disturbing. They've caught my 3rd Corps HQ doing its flanking action run, which is admittedly super gamey for me to do, but it works effectively until Barth catches me out like this. Air Recon reports the forward elements of the division don't have anyone behind them yet, so I've got some flexibility in how to prosecute my attack north of them and also in trying to pocket them. Maybe even more importantly, but relatedly, this rail and road line running south looks like a major undefended artery, worth pushing as many forces down as I feasibly can. But I mustn't forget those forces I punched away from Bromberg. Even if I bring a panzer division over to help with pocketing Rogozno, I need to leave enough forces to keep the former Bromberg defenders from coming back north. Ideally, I'll loop behind these Bromberg remnants faster than Barth can retreat them, but I want enough troops around to harass as well as block them. Okay, back to the Rogaz defenders. The trick here will be to cut off and concentrate force on his 26th Division while sparing my Corps headquarters from being overrun and blocking his 14th from getting behind me. Can I do it? We'll see. Yeah, that did okay. I might be sorry next turn that I put those troops down in a 3-sided shooting gallery, though. That finishes Western Front, so now to the Southwest Front. Several generals here have drawn useful cards, especially a couple of hastes, which I will immediately apply to everyone in their respective corps. Now for tactics. I'm going to try looping those basically worthless screen shoots around the headwaters of the Auber to see if they can help creating a pocket here later, but also to start bringing up a little more power against that Poznan defense later. I'm more than a little unsure how far to keep pushing 10th Corps with its 8th Army support, or in what direction. It doesn't help that I've forgotten that the pocketed city of Kalish down there is a major city and still needs to be taken. But I've got a ton of pocketing troops which can come back and help with that, I guess. I decide I do want to push 10th Corps' group down into the valley between the Prasna and Varta rivers, and at least force Barth to spread his defense out more thinly behind the Varta. But I don't want that cavalry to get back around behind me, so I keep an engineering regiment west of the river to pin them down. South to the Kalish-Varta road, the trick here will be to start real operations against Kalish while also finishing off Barth's 10th Division, some of which I think he retreated more or less safely back across the river at Zonsk before blowing the bridge. Also, I want to spread out an infantry line to match Barth's on both sides of the Varta and get my Panzer Division rolling south to cross the river beachhead I've established, where Barth has also been concentrating his few good tank regiments. Down at Czestochowa, and the river crossing north of it, Barth was pretty desperate to run his cavalry across the river again. But it's going to delay a few units by a turn when they could have been doing something else, so in that respect, I guess it's worth it. More importantly, relatedly, I've got to sort out how I want to split my developing power here between breaking through Barth's new defensive line. He's brought up some new Frenchy tanks for me to get some practice in shooting and dive bombing too.
košienėlis, oi liuli, 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 kad jei liko šienėlis, pasakyk jiem broleliui, kad jiem liko barnelis, oi liuli, 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 kad jiem liko barnelis.
Once I've pushed this salient farther open, it's time to consider how to deal with that big metropolitan area east of Boyton, which unfortunately also means trying to figure out what troops I can spare to help deal with Barth's winged hussar thrust in the southwest corner, which is seriously threatening the western side of my south front, which has enough hussar problems as it is. But first the metropolis and its northern environs. As my push finally reaches south to Rybnik, I can make decisions about how to punish those 6th Infantry Brigades trying to hustle me. To be honest, quite successfully too. Let's just run the ringed hussar theme for a while in the background, because Barth is causing a lot of trouble this way in the southwest corner. Enough so that I'm willing to throw 215 level bombers at one brigade of Barth's pseudo-cavalry. While I've partly dealt with that problem, I discover where Barth's Zakopane runners have gotten to. And I can see there are going to be problems because my fast movers aren't very numerous, while they're really a whole infantry brigade of their own. But also now out of supplies, so hopefully next turn I can surround and pummel them. And maybe level bomb them to dust. Whether that will be in time to save 22nd Corps, I don't know. Some of their units have already taken 50% casualties from lack of supply. I do the best I can to open supply lines to them, but I suspect they may have been worthlessly crippled at best for the rest of the operation. Honestly, don't know what to do with the rest of my troops over here to the southeast near the Slavic Nazi fanboys either. Some of them are out of supply for no clear reason, and Barth will obviously keep surging units south here to try to snap the rail and road lines behind them. Sure, I can push this brigade farther out of Nusendek, and I can surround and crunch the defender in Gorlich. But where can I safely go that's strategically worth anything here? Ugh. And if Barth hasn't already run 3 or 4 divisions off the map to save them for French action, well, even if he hasn't yet somehow, I think he'll have no trouble getting the maximum divisions out before I can stop him. On that note, let's do the end of turn doom scroll. I suspect this finger over here hides a counter blitzer, although I can't prove it yet. Or rather, when I went back to watch Barth's turn for this commentary, I noticed it does feature some kind of unit gaining ground. He's has got to be running short on supplies since there are no roads or rails leading that way anymore, only a thin strip of land, now 1 hex wide, crossing a river or 2 at that. The replay showed what looked like only 1 hex of advance. But he did cut off the road and rail network at Trapow, which can't be good for me, even though I doubt he'll be able to get much farther. Relatedly, while I think I determined last time that there's no one causing me trouble in Oplin, the fact of the matter is that I do need to send someone back there to clear the rail and road network at least. The main southwest front looks nice, however, especially my developing super pocket over the Warsaw. Ditto for the northwest front, and the western part of East Prussia. But then we get to East Prussia, and wow, it looks like everything is going to fall apart here. The good news, statistically, is that my casualties sustained seem to be shallowing off, although remember the final number doesn't count Bart's turn yet. And he has created at least 2 problematic pockets that could even vaporize a core or 2 if I haven't settled that problem yet. On the other hand, Bart's casualties are accelerating, and depending on how he tries to counterattack, that number will only get steeper by turn 5. Can I keep the pedal to the metal, or the boot to the face as it were? Or will Bart's staunch poles, in good Wehrmacht fashion, where the best defense is a strong counterattack, swallow a core or 2, or even 3, dooming my assault with their absolute justice? We'll find out when it's now Bart's turn of absolute justice. Doom, 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 doom. Amen, 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 amen.